The disappearance of 6-year-old Morgan Nick, on June 9, 1995, remains one of the most horrifying and perplexing cases in American history. On that fateful evening, the small town of Alma, Arkansas, was transformed from a scene of joyful innocence at a local baseball game to a place overshadowed by fear and uncertainty. As the sun set, a vibrant future for the young girl dimmed, leading to a protracted investigation filled with baffling evidence and unanswered questions. This narrative revolves around the unfolding mystery of Morgan Nick, where we delve into the evidence collected, the investigative efforts to find her, and the haunting echoes her case leaves behind. The day started like any other summer day in Alma. The sun was still shining and families gathered at the baseball field for an evening of enjoyment. Morgan, accompanied by her mother, Colleen Nick, was filled with excitement, having just celebrated her 6th birthday a month earlier. With her Girl Scout uniform and her spirited personality, she was the picture of innocence and joy, embodying the carefree spirit of childhood. As the game concluded, children scampered around, enthusiastic laughter filling the air. Morgan and her friends played nearby, their giggles melding with the sounds of evening chatter. Colleen felt a sense of security and allowed Morgan to explore the park slightly out of her line of sight. For Colleen, the environment was safe, and Morgan was just another child enjoying summer freedom. However, when Colleen turned her attention back, a chilling realization struck. Morgan was gone. Panic set in almost instantly. Colleen began searching frantically, calling her daughter's name, her voice filled with mounting dread. As more parents noticed the commotion, they joined the search, escalating the urgency of the situation. The local authorities were contacted, and law enforcement quickly mobilized, establishing a command post within the park. The initial search efforts were intense. Officers scoured the area, using flashlights to penetrate the growing darkness. The community rallied together, volunteers combed through nearby woods and fields, their collective focus on locating any trace of the young girl. Yet, as the hours turned into long agonizing nights, the overwhelming fear grew that time was running out. As the investigation unfolded, obtaining eyewitness accounts became paramount. Witnesses at the baseball field observed various details that could potentially lead to clues. Several individuals reported seeing a suspicious man nearby, described as a white male driving a red pickup truck. This description began to form the foundation of the investigation, creating a profile of a possible suspect. Witnesses also provided detailed accounts of the timeline, noting the moment they last saw Morgan. One girl stated she saw Morgan near a concession stand talking to a man in the park. This information raised the red flags, urging investigators to explore whether this individual had any involvement in her disappearance. Despite multiple searches and canvassing the area for further witness identification, the leads remained limited. As investigators compiled reports, they considered the possibility of a potential abduction, making it a priority to locate the mysterious red truck and its driver. As hours turned into days, the search efforts transformed into a more structured investigation. Investigators honed in on the description of the suspicious man. They began to collaborate closely with the FBI in hopes of identifying and locating the red pickup truck associated with the witness accounts. In the absence of physical evidence directly linking any individual to the scene, investigators relied heavily on the community's observations. Law enforcement reached out to local auto repair shops, gas stations, and townspeople to gather any information about a truck that fit the description. Flyers featuring Morgan's photos with the suspect's description appeared statewide, drawing attention and support from several surrounding regions. Among the most pressing challenges investigators faced was the lack of a definitive timeline and any conclusive physical evidence. Despite numerous tips and calls from individuals claiming to have seen the red truck in various parts of Arkansas, none led to the success of a major breakthrough. A sense of urgency weighed on the investigation as time slipped by, ushering in the fear that Morgan might never be found. As the investigation expanded, authorities began digging deeper into potential suspects. One individual quickly surfaced, a previously convicted sex offender, Terry Lee Smith, who was living in the area at the time of Morgan's disappearance. His record included previous child abduction charges, and police brought him in for questioning as his name circulated within investigative circles. Smith's alibi for the night of Morgan's disappearance raised suspicions. Although he claimed to have been home, he was unable to provide any concrete evidence to support his account. The investigation teams began delving into his background, examining his interactions with children and his whereabouts during the time frame of Morgan's disappearance. However, Smith's unwillingness to cooperate made it difficult to draw any direct connections between his actions and Morgan's case. Investigators sought to gather as much evidence against Smith, including interviewing potential witnesses who might have seen him in the area. They combed through any remaining leads, from vehicular records to local sightings, yet time marched on, and Morgan remained missing. As the weeks turned into months, Morgan's case began to capture national media attention, catalyzing public interest in the tragic story. Major news outlets across the country featured articles highlighting her disappearance, pushing her story into prime time slots on television. The public outcry generated renewed enthusiasm around the investigation. Colleen Nick became an emotional torchbearer, publicly sharing her anguish and urging law enforcement to intensify their efforts. Her heartfelt pleas resonated deeply, turning Morgan into a symbol for missing children across America. With soaring media coverage, the investigation team saw a surge in tips, as people across the nation aimed to assist in any way they could. Reporters covered every possible lead, and authorities remained in close contact with the media to share updates. However, as leads came pouring in, none provided the breakthrough for which Colleen had longed: her daughter's safe return. As years went by without new leads in the case, investigators continued to treat it as an ongoing priority. Despite a notable absence of physical evidence, police routinely reviewed Morgan's case file, exploring any new technologies or forensic advancements that might yield a breakthrough. The team was unwavering in their commitment to solving the mystery that had haunted Alma for nearly a decade. Facing the daunting challenge of maintaining public interest, law enforcement personnel focused on bringing consciousness to Morgan's case and worked to keep it on the community's radar through vigils and advocacy events. They encouraged people to remain vigilant, reiterating the importance of sharing any information that could help trace her whereabouts. Colleen, along with several other families of missing children, began to advocate tirelessly for legislative improvements regarding child abduction investigations. They sought to highlight the plight of missing children on national platforms, inspiring new awareness campaigns to educate the public on child safety. Their voices echoed through the halls of advocacy, as they pressed for more resources devoted to child abduction cases. As the years transitioned into a new millennium, Colleen Nick remained steadfast. Her advocacy efforts were a testament to her determination to uncover the truth. After several meetings with law enforcement officials, she created the Morgan Nick Foundation in 2004, aiming to spread awareness about child safety, missing children, and the importance of community vigilance. The foundation became a vital resource, providing educational programs and materials designed to teach families how to protect their children. Colleen worked diligently to share Morgan's story and encourage proactive measures so that families would remain aware of their children's safety. She devoted her life to ensuring that no other family would endure the pain she experienced, focusing her energies both on educating children and advocating for policies benefiting victims' families. In 2011, a potential lead emerged when a woman stepped forward, claiming to have witnessed something suspicious the night of Morgan's disappearance. This new testimony asserted that she had seen a man carrying a young girl in the area where Morgan was last seen. This information reignited hope within both the investigation team and Colleen. This new witness testimony prompted investigators to revisit old leads and analyze the case from a new perspective. With fresh eyes and renewed vigor, law enforcement officials began assessing connections between Morgan's case and other reported abductions, both locally and nationally. In addition to the resurgence of interest, advancements in scientific techniques allowed cold cases to be revisited with optimism. DNA technology had made profound strides in recent years, and investigators hoped improvements could unlock long-lasting mysteries. With genetic testing capabilities advancing, detectives began re-examining all evidence collected during the original investigation for possible DNA clues that may have previously gone unnoticed. In 2019, the investigation experienced a significant development when authorities revisited Terry Lee Smith's original case files. Despite having been questioned years earlier, details about his activities and continued presence in the area warranted another review of his potential involvement in Morgan's abduction. Law enforcement began a drive to locate Smith, who had since moved around various parts of the country. Collaborating with agencies nationwide, investigators reached out for leads, trying to close in on his whereabouts. During this action, they discovered Smith was a person of interest in multiple reports of child abductions and had a confirmed history that connected him to cases beyond Morgan Nick. Heightened awareness regarding Smith's past urged investigators to reach out to his acquaintances and understand his life during the time of Morgan's disappearance. They hoped to identify whether he may have had any accomplices or whether there were others who could provide insight into what happened that night. As the investigation made strides, public interest surged anew, sparking investigative efforts nationwide that scrutinized cold cases and abductions. Morgan's name became synonymous with hope and awareness for parents seeking to protect their children. The longing to uncover the truth remained grave, especially for Colleen, who never lost hope through the trials of the years. Detective agencies resumed deploying fresh investigative techniques to reanalyze old evidence. Reports swirled around the complex network of missing children and the connections that might exist between them. Potential evidence was reviewed, and families repeatedly reminded of their loved ones. As the case continued to unfold and new leads surfaced, Colleen remained at the forefront of advocacy. Ultimately, the leads went cold, and then, during a press conference on October 1, 2024, the Alma Police Department revealed that physical evidence, including blood, hair, and fibers, consistent with Morgan's clothing was collected from Lincks' vehicle in 2020. This finding reignited interest in Lincks, who had previously been interviewed shortly after Morgan's disappearance. but had denied any involvement. Investigators noted that physical evidence collected from the truck that Lincks owned, when Morgan was abducted, strongly indicates that Morgan had been in his truck. Despite his denials during the initial investigation, the combination of recent DNA findings and his past crimes has led authorities to concentrate their investigation on him as the primary suspect. As of October 2024, the investigation remains active. While Lincks has been named the primary suspect, continued efforts are being made to uncover further information and seek the truth surrounding Morgan's disappearance. In addition, anyone with information about Morgan Nick's disappearance are urged to contact the Alma Police Department at 479-632-3333, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, at 1-800-843-5678, or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. All tips are valuable and contribute to ongoing efforts to solve this case.